Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith. We're here at the IMDb studio at Acura Festival Village. And look, it's the cast and crew of Wendy. Give it up for them, ladies and gentlemen. Ben, you were here how many years ago with Beasts?
8 years.
And
years ago.
that movie rocked the world and it resulted in award nominations up the wazoo and whatnot. Magical realism introduced to a whole new audience. Now, 8 years later, is that 8 years later?
Yeah.
You're back. You occur to me, and with another, what feels like magical realism movie as well. You occur to me as the modern day Terrence Malick, my friend. Making amazing movies that you take a long time between. What was the gap about? What was the gap year for?
It just was what the movie needed. It was a really spectacular adventure. It combined incredibly difficult to reach remote locations, non-actor children, boats that we sank and raised, and we sort of designed this, like exploration was sort of the nature of the film, and there was really no way to know how long it was going to take to get through it, and we literally just spent 7 years making this movie nonstop.
Tell Mama I'm just staying a little longer. And tell her I miss her and I love her.
It's a reimagining of Peter Pan. Some of the characters are the same, but the story goes in ways that nobody will know where they're going. It's through the eyes of Wendy, who is sitting right next to me.
And Devin, we went looking for your IMDb page, and you're so fresh, there is no IMDb page.
Yeah.
This is actually probably going to be the first thing on the page. That just because it's your first movie doesn't mean you haven't been acted before, or have you acted before?
I've always been into theater and stuff, but this will be my first movie. I've never done a play. I've done pageants, if that kind of counts, but this would be my first movie, yes.
Talk about like a baptism by fire, man.
We met when she was 7, so.
That's how it began?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hectic.
That's also a part of it that I hadn't even brought into consideration. If it's going to take you that period of time to put it all together, you run the danger of a kid growing up.
Yeah, so the story of Peter Pan is quite actually the experience of making the movie. But we cast Devin when she was 7. The actor Yashua Mack, who plays Peter, cast when he was 5, and so all the kids really were cast kind of before. We had to teach them how to act. We had to teach them how to swim a lot of the time. So it was we had to really make the film at the exact right point when all these kids were exactly ready to make it, and then we had to get it done before they grew up. So that was really the theme of the movie and a big part of the adventure.
You were incredibly good in the last movie with kid actors, and you're back at it again. Why? Most filmmakers are always kind of standing in, putting in actors for themselves, usually at the same age. You're working way younger.
Well, I just like hanging out with Devin and this pack of wild kids we had, and it makes your film set. Kids don't have any reason to think about a career. It wasn't those type of kids that were sort of already interested in having a career in Hollywood. So the motivation to make the film or just do what you got to do every day is that it's got to be fun, and so it makes your film set into a sort of a playground, and that keeps the joy in it in a really great way. And I think I also just was really, kind of this movie grew out of Beasts. I sort of made that film with Quvenzhané Wallis when she was 6, and then I was with her all the way through all the press and sort of seeing a kid go from that age into sort of facing the world and growing up, those sort of themes. As I was on the tail of making Beasts, I sort of felt I had another exploration to do, kind of in the experience of children.
How giving! The movie gave what it gave, but then even in the press circuit run of selling the movie, you were able to pull even more from it and bring into the next flick. You don't have much of a basis for comparison, but what was Ben like as a director?
Ben is the best, honestly.
One of the kids, right?
We hang out even outside of filming or doing stuff. One of my favorite memories with Ben is me and a couple of other good friends and me and Ben, we went go eat at Taco Bell, and we went go watch The Strangers Pray at Night in the movie theaters because we both love Taco Bell and horror movies. So me and Ben, he's great, honestly. He's really motivational on set. If you're ever feeling down, he'll pump you up and get you in the mood and get you ready to do stuff. And I think that with working with kids, that's really important for him to do, and I think that it's perfect working with kids for how he works things around set. So I love working with Ben.
You
Thanks,
join
Steve.
a long line of Wendy's, people who've portrayed Wendy over the course of since Barry's book's been published. Did you look at any particular Wendy? Was there this is the gold standard Wendy?
No, because what I've always been told is to be yourself, and I kind of wanted to be my own Wendy and not be someone else's ideal Wendy. I wanted to be me and Ben's Wendy and not a Wendy that's already out there, because when you're making a movie, you don't want to be like, a copycat or an exact replica. You want to have something special about you. And I think the thing with the Wendy that I portrayed was that she's really curious and like outgoing and adventurous, and I think that really makes Wendy special, and I think that me and Ben could both agree that Wendy's a pretty cool character.
If you play your cards right, you may never have to get a real job your whole life, man. Like if you're starting at this age, you could stay in this business forever.
Hopefully, I mean, I've always I can remember if we'd have a family gathering or something, I'd always want to perform or dance or something, and I've always loved performing for people, and I think that acting is just, it's for me. I love to portray somebody and really go in depth to be that character and understand them as the person that you're going to be playing. And I think that I would really, really love to do this for the rest of my life.
I think you're gonna. What is the tech? I share a little bit of experience of coming to Sundance and having my life changed. Yours was even far bigger. What was that whole run like from here forward? When you come to Sundance, is it this is where I was born? That's what I feel like. 26 years ago, I came with Clerks, and every time I come back, I'm like, this is where my adult life began.
It feels like home court or something like that.
Yeah. Home court.
And yeah, I mean, I was here at Slam Dance, with my first short, so I came back.
So Park City, it's not just Sundance for you; it's all of Park
my
City.
first film that ever played here, and it does feel really special, and it feels good knowing it, and it feels good bringing this new family to experience what it's like to show a film here.
That's true. They got you to be like, I'm the old hand at this. I've had
Yeah.
the Sundance experience.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's really moving. It did really change my life in really interesting ways, and in some ways we sort of kept. It was interesting when that all happened. Our mandate was actually to keep making films exactly the way that we had coming into Sundance, and we really did see that through on this film. We really used the same methods, same principles, and it was different knowing that the world was kind of waiting for this movie, but really the experience of making it was totally different, but the feeling of the set and the process we tried to keep that the same and managed to do that, and spent 7 beautiful years in this totally surreal Neverland that we
How
created.
luxurious. 7 years to prepare to tell the story. By the time you hit set, you must have been like, oh, I'm completely ready.
Definitely not.
No?
I don't know if that. I mean, maybe that happens for some people, but it's a film that, the kids grow. Everything. The thing that made the film so chaotic, or not chaotic, but so unpredictable. Was that everything was changing all the time. So the kids were changing all the time. We'd have to rewrite constantly. Go oh, Demon's not really like that anymore. She wouldn't say that way. We got to rewrite that line for her.
So in real time, as you're making the movie, you're like, we can do course adjustments, course corrections along the way.
And we had sets that would change. You'd go to. It's all shot in natural locations. It's all on these shot in these islands in the Caribbean.
Is that right? Where?
Mainly on the island of Montserrat, which has an active volcano on it. And we were shooting in these volcanic landscapes you'd go there once and plan out your shots. You'd come back, it would look completely different. You'd show up at a beach you were planning to shoot, it would have disappeared. So everything was evolving as we were scouting, and so you're constantly in the state of sort of chasing the movie and trying to keep up with it. So you never feel like, okay, I got the plan and the map, because the whole movie was built to combust as we were making it, and that sort of gave it a spontaneity that I hope makes it kind of special in the same way that Beast was.
How bummed were you when it was all done?
Pretty bummed. Okay, so something really funny that wasn't funny at the time was on the last day of filming in the Hell's Gate. Was it Hell's Gate?
Antigua, aptly named.
You took a child to a place called Hell's Gate? Come on,
Yes,
a bunch
he
of
did.
kids.
And a bunch of senior citizens, and yeah,
One of them fell.
and got back up.
Yeah, he got back up.
The important part of that story. Don't bury the lead.
Right. So, it was the last shot of the whole like Caribbean shoot, and the person who would like check the gate and see if there was a hair in the gate or something said that there was a hair in the gate, and everyone just went, oh, like Ben's face went. He slapped his like script down on his legs, and he was like, muttering under his breath, and I can remember I was like so disappointed. Then he was like, "Ha, just kidding," and then everyone was angry at him. So
At the guy who said there in the gate?
yeah.
Where you got you
Prank-filled movie.
you shot film?
Yeah, we shot it on 16 millimeter.
What was the man? Oh man, you are a true filmmaker. What? Why at this point? Like in my head, I'm like, oh my god, that sounds so difficult. Especially for moments like that. Like, kid, no one said hair in the gate for the last 20 years on a motion picture set unless it's like Chris Nolan movie.
Yeah,
So it's wild. Why that? Just because film?
I mean, the beauty of it,
Yeah.
for sure. Also, sort of the nature of how we were shooting. These we were always in blazing sun, away from power sources. These were really remote locations. We'd have to hike, 2 hours sometimes to get to set, and so when you're out there, you don't have a lot of extra equipment to kind of control light. So my feeling has always been, when you're in extreme conditions and you can't really control lighting, the beautiful thing about film is you can kind of point a camera anywhere, and even if the sun's blowing you out or whatever's going on, you still end up with something that feels
Especially if you're
organic
in
and beautiful.
paradise on an island, like with an active volcano, man. Did they not teach you about green screen in film school?
We like to do things the real way, both for what the film is, and for me, the experience of this is life. All I do is make movies, and I want to go on these adventures. And so, if a film is on an active volcano, I want to be on it.
That is so beautiful and true. It's like, this is my job, bro. And like,
Yeah.
if during my job I could go someplace nice,
yeah.
like I'm going to do that.
We wanted to go to Neverland.
And you found it.
Yeah.
We're going to ask you 2 quick questions to let you go. Last series that you binged, last thing that you binged.
I actually have not seen any series, because I've been making this movie since those series started happening.
I know the feeling.
So I've never actually watched one, honestly.
So what's the last thing you watched that you could give a shout out to? It's IMDb, so naturally everybody's leaning forward going, "Ooh, what movies do you like?"
Oh, man.
You think, and we'll start over with Devin. Devin,
last thing you liked?
last thing you binged.
Last thing I binged was probably maybe America's Got Talent. I think it was America's Got Talent with my dad. That's the last thing that I watched recently.
Super sweet.
There's a film called Happy as Lazzaro, an Italian film that absolutely
Whose
rocked
is it?
my world. Alice Rohrwacher.
And what year? Current?
I guess it was last year. It came out last year as a Cannes last year, and puttered around America, but people should dig it up and
One more
watch
time
it.
with the title?
Happy as Lazzaro.
Happy as Lazzaro.
Yeah.
And have you ever stolen a prop from a set that you've worked at? You've only worked on one set, so we're going to narrow it right down. Do you ever steal anything from Wendy?
Actually, yeah, but I asked. So it's not stealing, but I don't know if they kept the shop, but there was a duck in like the diner or something. Remember the duck?
Yeah.
And with one of the props guy ripped its feet off, and I was like, you can't rip a stuffed animal's feet off, it's 9-year-old Devin. So I took him in, I took him home, I sewed a patch on him. I was like, it's okay, Duck, don't cry. You're gonna sleep in my room tonight, okay? I'm gonna cuddle you so much. And so he was a prop. You might see him in like the corner of the diner in a shot or something. I don't know if you guys kept that or not.
And you
But
saved him.
I saved
You rescued
him.
that duck.
I rescued that duck.
I got to ask, what's the difference between present day Devin and 9-year-old Devin? You're like, 9-year-old Devin had to do this. Would present day Devin be like, let the duck die?
No, absolutely not. I
Good to
love
know.
stuffed animals.
Yes.
And I love Hello Kitty, so.
You anthropomorphize them. They got life, man. You can't just like throw a fluff to the side.
Exactly. Have you seen Toy Story, people? I mean,
Bang!
come on.
Bang! You're absolutely right. You? What have you stolen? You've been on 2 sets. What'd you steal from either of them? And it's not really stealing if you're the director.
Yeah, I definitely jacked a severed hand, which is a great thing to play pranks with. And I got the hook.
Did you?
Yeah, I got hooked.
You would have to.
Yeah, I got to keep that.
That's beautiful. Give it up for Ben and Devin, the kids from Wendy!